Ho, 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 everybody. I'm Saving Content Zone Ed Acosta, and welcome to dotEXE, a Saving Content podcast. It's episode 35, and joining me on this wintry sleigh ride today is the jolly old gingerbread Santa himself, Eric Acosta.
Hey, it's me. Can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread Santa. Man, actually, that works. Because you can't catch Santa. You
Right.
can't catch the gingerbread. So, like, you super can't catch him, right?
Is the gingerbread man Santa?
Did we just unravel it? You can't
Did
catch
we
Santa.
solve
Santa.
a mystery?
We figured it out. Santa's a gingerbread man.
You were... I'm not going to say what I thought you were about to say.
What, Santa's a ginger? No, he's white hair.
Those were definitely white beards. It's been a few weeks since we recorded one of these, but you know,
Yes.
the holidays get in the way.
Holidays, and I had other issues. We will talk about that in a little bit.
Well, why don't you go ahead and get into that? Let's start us off with what we've been doing and what have you been doing? Or correction, what has your computer been doing?
My computer has been not working is what my computer's been doing. So to kind of give the story of how I figured it out, you were up here.
I was.
Yeah, we were playing Played Up, actually. And we were at a point in Played Up where we were trying to automate stuff, right?
Right.
Which, you know, as you do in Played Up.
In fact, me and Des were on the coffee table with graph paper.
So that was the whole reason, was that you guys were on the coffee table. You guys were drawing it out on graph paper. And I'm like, I'm sure somebody somewhere in the world has a program. So I went to my computer to find one or an app or whatever, only to find out that my computer was not on. I'm like, oh, okay, hit the button. Wait, no, it is on. It's just got no video. So, you know, I do the old PC builder thing, you know, and start trying to figure out what's going on.
Right.
Like, okay, well, there's no video, so it's obviously must be a video card, right? Checked it, changed the cables, tried a different port on the card, tried a different port in the the monitor, and everything seemed to be working, because it was not saying no video or no signal. It just was black.
Right.
I'm like, crap. So I'm going in. I'm like, all right, you reboot, redoing everything, rebooting, trying to see what's going on, and do the normal stuff. Disconnect your hard drive, disconnect all your USBs, disconnect your disk drive, disconnect your hard drive. And I thought I had figured it out because I disconnected my C drive, which is the Windows drive, because I put Windows on C, like a lot of people do now, Windows and C, and everything else on a different drive, games and stuff like that.
These days, you kind of have to have Windows dedicated to its own drive just so that it's fast. Loads and everything are quick, and you don't have to worry about losing stuff if your C crashes.
And that was my main reason for doing it. You know, losing if C crashes, I don't lose everything, just the Windows. So I disconnected that. Well, first I disconnected my data drive, and it booted up once. I'm like, oh sweet, went into Windows. So then I booted it down properly, disconnected Windows, and reconnected that drive to verify that drive was bad. And I did it, and it did not post. So if you don't know a lot about computers, your computer will do a power on self test, which is called a post test.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, even if you don't have a hard drive plugged in, it will go into, at minimum, the BIOS, which is on the motherboard. So it doesn't need a hard drive to go into the BIOS. It wasn't doing that. I'm like, okay, so this is a bad drive. Then I'm like, oh wait, it didn't go to post. No beep, no nothing. I can't go into BIOS. So wait, maybe it's not a bad drive. Maybe it's a bad motherboard.
Right.
Because
we're sitting there trying to contemplate which one is it?
And I got down to basically hard drive, the C, because then I plugged the C back in and it did the same thing. I'm like, crap. So I'm like, all right, well, I think it might be this. I think it might be the C drive.
Right.
Connected. It's causing the motherboard or the post to fail, which means that it's not going to go through to the BIOS. Which is a possibility. So waited, a day or two, whatever, because computer parts are not cheap.
Yes.
Never been cheap and never will be cheap. And I couldn't find. And by the way, this is all what the day. Was it Thanksgiving Day? No, it might have been the day before.
It would have Eve. It would have been Thanksgiving Eve.
Eve, yeah.
Because you were looking at having the computer available for anybody to use or play.
Right, for a Friendsgiving on that Friday. Right. And needless to say, that did not happen.
Which was fine. Everybody was watching football and eating anyways. So.
Right. The kids were downstairs hanging out and drawing on our wall, which, we have a turkey wall where we literally just let people, whoever come to our Friendsgiving, put a turkey hand on the wall. Mm-hmm. Magic marker or whatever. This time we used a pen. We used pencils and pens and craft paints. So they enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But so continue that story. I get a hard drive. I got me a PNY SSD drive. I wanted the 250 or the 240 gig because it's just going to have Windows on it. Well, the Best Buy up here didn't have it. So I had to go with the 500, which they had, which it was only like $30. It was normally like $100. It was on sale for like $30. So
yeah, because of course this is right around Black Friday. So
right, so it actually worked out in my case a little bit. So bought that, and then I had to buy Windows because
that sucks.
Yeah, the copy of Windows that I have was actually Windows Ultimate, which had been updated, been upgraded to Windows 10.
It was like an old version of 98 or like XP to 8 to 10 or something. It was an upgrade path.
Yeah, it was an upgrade path. So the first I had Windows 98 up until 3 years ago. 4 years ago. No, it'd have been earlier than that because I got a Ultimate license from one of my friends he had the Ultimate, Windows Ultimate, when they did the 3 licensing still.
Yeah.
So he's like, I only use the one, and I've never used these other 2, so here's a license for one of them. So I use that.
Yeah, you were probably using XP, not 98.
Then it would have been XP, yeah, makes sense. And I've been I just upgraded from, upgrade path from that. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I could, but that means I would have to install XP, then do the upgrade path every iteration.
Right. And that's ridiculous. Plus, I think Windows at some point stopped the upgrade path, or either they stopped the free version of it.
So what I was looking up is that they stopped support for XP a while ago, right? When they stopped support for that, they also stopped support for upgrade path. You can still do it, but they can't guarantee it. That it actually will work. Yeah. So there is an upgrade path, but you have to go through each iteration. It can't go from XP to Windows 11. It's got to go from XP to this one, what is it? XP to Windows 8, then Windows 10, then Windows 11.
XP 8. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So you would have to go through each one. And the thing is, you would have to install XP, do any updates that it deems itself required that weren't on the disk that are still viable. Then you'd have to do all of that, shut it down, go through the upgrade path of 8, do the same thing, any updates required, shut it down. 10. So you know how long it takes to install and update Windows in general.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have been probably about a day's worth of work, and it's not a fresh install by then, right? It's
correct.
It's got all this other bloatware of stuff that tags along that was brought in with 8, but then removed in 10, but it's still there in the background, so it's not fresh. I'm like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to pay the $140 to get Windows 11. Not that I really like Windows 11, but I can't get 10, and I'll deal. It'll be a fresh install, and I won't have my issues that I had before. I don't know if I remember you I showed you, but previously I had an issue with my Windows where if I right clicked, it would take a really long time to load, and I
Oh
would
yes,
yeah, and
I do
sometimes it
remember that.
would crash like that the Explorer, so I'd have to do it again, and I wouldn't be able to right click to add a new folder in Explorer. Which both of those, I believe, I looked up and found they were registry issues that I just didn't feel like dealing with.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you might as well do a install of Windows.
Yep. So that's what I did. Got a new drive, got a new copy of Windows, which that even more so pissed me off. I'm like, you're Windows, you're just Apple in disguise now because you get one copy of Windows ever, and this is your copy, and
Mm-hmm.
you got to sync it up, and now we need to know, all of your computer's information. So like they know my power supply. I mean, you go into your Windows, your Microsoft account or whatever, and it shows you what your power supply is, what's your motherboard, and it's how much RAM is in it, your hard
Yeah.
drives. They know Microsoft knows your computer setup.
And then they throw a hissy fit when you've changed something out. It's
Yep.
like, oh, we noticed your system's not the same.
It's like, yeah, I know. You don't need to know that. But they do. And they require it. You can't, as far as I know, you can't get Windows and have that aspect of it turned off. It's required through Windows.
Right.
But installing Windows 11, put it in, and then it goes, this computer is not compatible with Windows 11. Sorry. It's not what? The hell it ain't.
But did you have to turn on whatever that motherboard feature is?
So there's two, and I had thought I had turned both of them on. There's the Trusted Manufacturer Platform Service, TMPS or TPMS.
That sounds right.
Yeah, is that one? And then there's the oh shoot, what is the acronym? UEFI, I think.
That one I'm not familiar with.
Utilities. Oh shoot, it's a security thing, and I can't remember what it's called. It's for quote unquote security protection, and a lot of places saying you don't need to turn it on. I had to, so I had turned it on, and I trust the TPM I turned on my board. It's an Gigabyte Aeros Elite, the X570. So I turned those two on, and it still said it wasn't it. And I'm like, what the crap? So then I started just basically looking up. All right, this is my board, model number. What did I do wrong? Or what do I need to turn on? Because apparently I'm an idiot and don't know.
Right.
Well, apparently I turned on the TMPS or whatever it is, and I turned on the UE whatever, but there is another option above the TPMS or that trusted one that actually turns on the subcategory that I was changing
manually.
Right. So I was changing the security one to allow the security and turn off legacy drive, but I didn't turn on the overall button to say enable it. Because it didn't say enable. It just said it. And then there's a sub menu. But you had to click on it, and then it goes enable, disable. I'm like, oh, okay. So you're just not going to tell me that it's disabled. Cool. Thanks, Gigabyte.
Thanks. Yeah.
So I turned it on, and it worked fine. Installed it. And now my computer works. But for a little bit there, I was real pissed about I might have to get a new motherboard.
Which at that point, you might as well just rebuild a new computer.
Right. Oh, and I guess the reason I figured out that it wasn't the motherboard, I don't know if I told you this, but I bought a USB multimedia drive to expand my USBs that sits into the front of the chassis.
Yes, and I was in the living room with Dad when he took your call.
Okay, all right. So it's a USB and it's a USB 3.0, and it's got some other stuff. It's got multimedia ports for SD cards, and it's got an old school what is it? SCARTA power? The 4-prong power.
Yes.
I don't know why it has that. It nothing uses that anymore. I think it's called SCARTA. I can't remember now, but it's got that. So it was still having the issue when I had gotten the new drive, and I was putting the new drive in. I couldn't install anything, but I put the new drive in, and that was the only drive in. I'm like, no, this should be posting. Why isn't it posting? And I'm like, the motherboard is the motherboard dead? Because I realized there's no light on the board. Like there's lights on everything else. The power supply, the CPU, the video card.
Right.
All those had the RGB light, and they all turned on. But the motherboard, I noticed that when it did boot into post, the once or twice that it did, there was a secondary light, like a accent light on the board itself that wasn't turning on. And I'm like, great. I just got this board like 2 years ago, if that, and it's already dead. Needless to say, I was not happy.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But I'm like, okay, and I took a step back, and I'm like, let me think about this. All right, I took the hard drives out. I took the Blu-ray, the Blu-ray drive, DVD player, CD player, DVD off. Is there anything? I took all the printers, all the USBs. What else is plugged in here? And I forgot all about that USB head, multimedia head. I'm like, oh, let me take this off. I doubt this is the issue, but it does have power. So maybe something's shorting there. So I took the USB 3.0 off, powered it, and it worked. I'm like, what? So then because it had booted a few other times also. And I'm like, let me try it. Shut it down, left it off, turned it on. It repeated 3 times in a row, worked. I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Right.
So then I put that USB 3.0 back in, didn't work, took it off, put it into the secondary slot. So that board has 2 USB 3.0 slots.
Uh-huh.
One's like a front and one's a secondary front. Put it in the secondary, it worked. Unplugged it, it worked. Plugged it back in, it worked. So there was something wrong with the header, USB 3.0 header on that board. It's shorted or something.
But it works now, or is it not connected now?
So it is not connected now because then the USB 3.0 header, the second one stopped working.
Oh.
But but I unplugged it and now it's working, obviously, because we're doing this. It's been working for the past since, when did I get it? Sunday, I guess? Sunday or Monday? It's been working since then with no USB 3.0 connected. So I just don't have the 2 USB 3.0 ports. Yeah. But there is something wrong with that USB 3.0 in that multimedia that blew both of my USB 3.0's headers.
Huh.
On my board.
Huh.
Yeah. So that was my story. I love computers. I hate
they
technology.
are a pain in the butt.
I mean, my biggest issue is I was upset because I have 2 M.2 drives. And I'm like, if I got to get another motherboard, I've got to find a motherboard that can fit my Titan card and my 2 NVMe drives.
Right.
And that's actually not as easy as you would think because I'm not spending $400 on a motherboard.
I mean, like I said, at that point, you'd have to get a new motherboard, one that will work with your AMD chip.
Yeah.
Or get one that's already got a processor on there, which then you just got to tack on more money.
Yep.
It becomes a whole runabout. Like after you hung up, me and Dad were talking. It's like, well, if he's gonna have to get up a new thing, then he's looking at like just a new computer. Just go out and buy a pre-built.
Yep, that's so. I had a good 20 minutes of me looking at Des and like I might have to just buy a new computer. And I looked, I was like, that if I do, don't any gifts you've gotten me, just return, and that'll be my Christmas stuff. I got to a point where I was like, I'm gonna have to drop like, $1,000, $1.5 grand on a new computer.
Right.
And it would, and that's the thing. I was like, it would suck because the computer I have I like it. It's got a Titan, the Titan Pascal version graphics card. So it's kind of like equivalent to a 2060, 2070 RTX.
Sure.
And I have the Ryzen 9 3900 series. So 1 series ago. I think they're on 5 now, the Ryzen 5 series or 5000, whatever they want to call it. And then I've got the board that has 2 NVMe drive slots that will fit with a larger graphic card. Because there's a lot of boards out there now in the price range that I want that will have 2 slots, but it says if you have a newer 2070 or newer graphics card, you cannot use this slot because it covers it.
Too big.
At
some point, we're going to get to a situation where the case is the graphics card.
Yeah, if Nvidia keeps going with how they make their graphics cards, I mean, instead of how technology has been every 15 years, the technology is obsolete, but it's obsolete because it got smaller in form factor. They're not doing that. They're just shoving more power to the card.
Yeah.
And then
making bigger fans.
And they need bigger transducers that are going to cool things. So instead of having the technology shrink things, they're just shoving more power and more voltage. And with that more voltage is more heat. And with that more heat means more cooling. So you basically have a process. That's what you have right now. You have a processor that processes just video.
Sure.
And then you have the computer processor. Hence why Intel basically said, you know what? We can make video cards.
And yeah, they've got a range of mid to mid-high cards that are significantly cheaper
by a lot and do very well in the bench testing from what I've seen. So,
yeah. Even like the higher end one.
Yeah.
I wish they would name these things better. I can't remember what it is. It's a number letter combo thing again. And that guy is comparable to like ARC. Yeah, the ARC, yada, yada, yada.
A770.
There you
I'm
go.
looking it up, yeah. ARC A770.
It's like comparable to like a 1070, not 1070, 4070?
They were saying 4070.
3070?
I think the article that I was reading was more 3070.
Sure.
That makes
Which is still
sense.
no slouch.
No, by no means.
And that guy is only like $500, $400, something like that.
Something like that.
And like the lower end Intel one's like a $300, $400 card.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's see here. Let me go to 770 MSRP 340. 349. So 350. The ARC
350.
770s at 350. And if you want to go, we'll just do NVIDIA 3060. Right?
Yeah.
MSRP. Let's see if I can find an MSRP.
Yeah, because like their bare bones is what, the 1660?
Their bare bones. Wait, whose?
NVIDIA.
Oh, the bare bones. Sounds right. Do they? Yeah, they brought that architecture back, the 16 whatever architecture.
Because you'll find that in a bunch of entry level PC gaming builds,
which is lower than that ARC 770.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3060 is 329, so 330, so it's cheaper. But that A770 is supposed to be very similar, and bench spec out very similar to the 3070, which is $500.
Right.
So, that you could get almost what you can get a 1.5 of the A770s.
Yeah, and I believe those Intel ones still have room for overclocking and all that fun stuff.
That's not even overclocked bench tests that I'm seeing. So, I mean, Intel, you are a conglomerate in that computer space, and I'm not the biggest fan of Intel, but I'm glad that there's another video card company in the market.
But yeah, more competition will hopefully drive prices to a more consumer-friendly option.
Right.
But it sounds like NVIDIA is they're like, I don't care. We're going to be the elite, high-end bougie card. You want to be fancy, you get NVIDIA.
Right, and that's one of those. Okay, cool. If you want to be fancy, and you basically want to be Jaguar and Rolls Royce and that type of name, where you're paying for name, not substance. Okay, then I can 100% be done with you. I have no qualms about going to a different company that's giving me a good product for a fair price.
Right.
I'm not a brand specific person in general. Like if or like I like Fords or I like Nvidia or like that kind of thing. I'm brand specific or I like Sony, but if you're not going to give me the product that I want at the reasonable price that I need, then I'm going to go elsewhere. That is my option as a consumer, and it can be done.
Sure.
So yeah, um, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'll pay the extra $200 for Nvidia because I know the name. No.
Well, with the computer broke for those couple of days, I'm sure you were playing some games that were of the PS5 variety then?
Yes, because the computer is broke. I had to fall back on my other console on my PS5. So I did play more stuff on there, but then again, I was probably going to end up playing more stuff on there anyway.
Right.
So I played Gotham Knights a fair amount with you.
Uh-huh.
Finished the game. I mean, the game's good. It's a
Yeah.
very fun game.
I have my qualms with it, but I enjoyed my time with it. And in
Yeah.
fact, I am complete. Well, I won't say completely done because they just added that four-player co-op
the
mode.
4.1, yeah.
So I just got the platinum in that game,
Ooh.
and then was like, "Ah, good, finally done." And when it showed the progress, it said platinum, and then it showed how many trophies. And there are trophies for that new expansion.
Yep.
I was like, crud. So now I'm in a I guess a limbo here of trying to figure out, do I want to send it back to GameFly and be done with it, or buy it so that I have it in case anybody wants to hop on to the 4-player co-op thing and
Right.
do those trophies.
Well, like I'll probably hop on the co-op, the 4-player, but for us to do the 4-player, I'd have to buy a version for Keegan for his PS4.
Oh, yeah. Well, it wouldn't even. They
And
don't
no,
have a
it
PS4
wouldn't. They
version.
don't. Right, I forgot. They don't have a PS4 version.
No.
So I'd have to first buy him a PS5 and then a
Which-
PS5
Which I'm
version.
sure he would not complain about.
He wouldn't complain about. My bank account would. So yeah, and that's the thing about Gotham Knights is that at the end of the day, it is no more broken than plenty of other AAA indie games have come out. It is really no more broken than any other ones.
Oh yeah, no, and there are other games that if you want to talk about broken, that have some issues, but like Gotham Knights in itself, well, it was an enjoyable time, and I think it's a very good Batman game without Batman in it. Like I said, it does have some qualms that I have with it, like being stuck to 30 frames and everything. It would have been much nicer at a 60. I would have preferred, rather than evasion combat, it would have been more reversal combat.
Yeah,
But
but it still works. Is the
it
thing.
works.
It still works. It's not egregious.
I also say so to get the rest of the trophies, you had to start New Game Plus and upgrade your character to the max level the game offers.
Yeah.
To do that, you have to play through New Game Plus again. But everything that you unlocked through New Game Plus, other than like your suit, well, actually, anything other than your mod chips and like colorways and things like that, get reset. So
Really?
the suit you're wearing stays, but any of the suits that you had saved in your to build, like to craft, those get wiped, which is fine because I had like 200 of those, and you can't get rid of those. They just stay there until you build them. But yeah, that stuff gets wiped. Anything you've built though, stays in your inventory.
Yeah.
But
so you should build it before you start a new Game Plus, is what you're saying.
If you want to keep any of those, yes. The thing that bugged me the most was that because throughout the game you earn your fast travel points.
No.
you have to go and unlock all those again.
Oh, that's poopy.
And then there are some things in there like that you've already collected, like some of the collectible items for the Bruce missions where you're trying to find his hidden caches and things
Oh,
like
right. Yeah.
that. The what do you call those where you're doing the aerial stuff for your traversal?
Oh, traversal missions that'll like the point to point things.
Yeah. All those things, they come back.
Ugh.
Even though you've already unlocked all of them.
And they're not different.
They're not different. Now, the caches, though, they do give you items and like mod chips that are in line with what your current level is.
Okay.
So at least you get a little bonus out of that because in the main game, you can only get to level 30.
Right.
But when you go to New Game Plus, it goes up to 40.
That's such a weird number. Why not 50?
Right? So
I don't get 30. I don't get it.
Yeah. So, in the New Game Plus, like I didn't even finish the New Game Plus. I made it like not even a third of the way through the story and was able to level up from 30 to 40. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's fine. I enjoyed the game. I would like to see a sequel that would maybe put 4-player co-op crossplay in the main story, but whether or not we actually see a sequel to Gotham Knights is to be seen.
So, other than Gotham Knights, I've also been playing, and this is due to Maris, because in the midst of me playing another game, which I'll talk about in a little bit, she wanted to play a PS5 game or a game, and of course, Daddy's playing on his console, so she wanted to kick me off mine.
Of course,
as children do. I have 3 of them, and I know very well when
each one of them.
Each one of them. And here's the thing: as a parent, you have to learn what fight is worth fighting.
As they say, you pick your battles.
And I don't care. I don't care who you are. And for those people who do not have children yet and say that they won't have that issue. No, you will have that issue. And you will learn very hard the first time when you pick the wrong battle to fight.
Uh-huh.
Because it will not end well for either of you. So as a father and as a parent, I picked my battle and went, I can be done and you can take this game and play. So she wanted to play the Frozen game, which is on the PS5, is the old game on the PS4 that I got called Frozen Fall Snowball Fight.
Huh. Okay. It wasn't Bug Snacks.
No, it was not Bug Snacks. It was not Bug Snacks. It was not Sackboy game. And it wasn't Spider-Man.
Right. Those are go-tos.
Yeah, those are three go-tos. Which Spider-Man she's not actually playing because she's too young to read, so she just swings around the city, which is funny because I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. She knows how to swing. Like that's not a super easy mechanic to know.
Right.
So,
but she can do it. She picks it up. Yeah,
she does pretty good. So we played Frozen Fall Snowball Fight, which is basically you match 3. It's the tile thing with gems, and you match 3.
Okay, and, so kind of like a Bejeweled.
Yeah, like a Bejeweled. And there's a multiplayer where just like Tetris, you match 3 and you match enough 3s, you throw a snowball at the person on the other side and they get frozen blocks.
Is this more like Tetris with falling pieces, or is this more like Bejeweled where all the pieces are already on the board?
It's like Bejeweled where all the pieces are on the board, but it's like Tetris in that when you get a Tetris, you throw blocks over to the other side. In this case, you throw the animation, your character that you pick. I was little Anna, or I'm sorry, little Sven, and he was Kristoff. Damn. And she was Anna. Kristoff. And you basically just throw a snowball to the other character, and then one of the blocks on their board freezes. So you have to line up a 3 match with that to unfreeze it, and then line it up again to get rid of the jewel.
I mean, it sounds like an okay puzzle game.
It's very good. Honestly, it was a very good game. It lived the mobile model that Candy Crush and all of them live, like when you do the single player, because you have to the first 20 levels are easy, and then after once you get to the 21st level, it's ramps up very drastically so that you have to buy more with real money, that kind of
Okay.
more energy and stuff like that. But it's a fun game. We played it for about an hour.
Is it called Frozen Freefall?
Yeah, Frozen Fall Snowball Fight is the undertag. I think
Huh,
it's I think it came out
It
in
is.
2013.
It is on the App Store as Frozen Freefall.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks like Candy Crush and Bejeweled and all those types of games.
Yep. It's a solid game. It's just solid as a pick up, play for a little bit game, and it's something that I like. I don't mind her playing because it's not just learning how to use the controller like
So,
in some other games, but it's also
yeah,
learning color matching. She knows to match certain colors. She understands puzzle mechanics
right.
and changing mechanics, and things like that. So it's a nice, you know, I would guess a basic game.
I mean, yeah, it is your time waster mobile game. You know, everybody
By far.
has one.
Right, exactly. Everyone has one. That's a good way of putting it. Um, Other than that, I've also been playing Pokemon Scarlet a little bit, and that's mainly because I wanted to get in, see what it's like, then play a little bit in the multiplayer with you, see what it's like. But I'm gonna get into that more um after I finish another game that I'm gonna talk about in a little bit first, because I want to really invest my time into Scarlet as much as I can.
Mm,
It seems pretty fun when I was watching you play it and the little bit I played. Um, I didn't see a whole lot
Yeah.
of like glitchiness that everyone's complaining about.
So it seems to be it affects more people than others, and from what I can gather, it depends on whether you have an OLED one or the regular one, whether you're playing off a memory card or you're playing off of system storage, or if you're playing off the cartridge.
Really?
Yeah. So I haven't run into any jank or anything yet. Uh, and I downloaded, so I have a digital copy of Violet, and I believe it's stored on the SD card. But I also have a higher speed SD card in there, so maybe that's why I'm not seeing anything. Because I've heard some complaints of
Hmm.
people. It's like it's just pop in and uh, low frame rate, and it's just buggy all around, like memory leaks and everything.
Hmm.
And the thing that I'm noticing from all those complaints that other people are picking up on is that maybe it has to do with where you've installed the game. Like if it's on an SD card and let's say it isn't one of the high speed ones with you know uh, with a lot of storage and everything, it's possible that maybe that's what's causing it. Maybe
Hmm.
the SD card reader is not being quick enough. Because from what I can tell, people who have the cartridge, I don't think they've had any complaints other
Yeah.
than the normal complaints about the game as it is. But
Right. Well, when I was playing it and when Des was playing it, you can tell, like in the background, yes, the frame rate of the characters in the background are that of Arceus, like very similar. The far background, they were not full
no.
framed animations. They were, half frame. You
But
could tell that.
if you were to go watch the Digital Foundry video, where they do like the comparison tests and everything, this is not like performance wise, it is nowhere near Arceus in how it performs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it is got a lot of similarities and everything, but it's like nowhere close. Um, a lot of that also has to do with like uh, the textures and some of the character models and things like that. Like one of the examples I remember seeing was in Arceus, the mountains and your grassy fields. They have they they loop textures and everything and kind of repeats,
Right. They
but
do old school tech,
yeah, it's
older
not
school tech.
as obvious because there's enough textures that after a while of repeating, it just kind of looks like it, m- blends well together.
Right.
In Violet and Scarlet and Violet, if you're looking at the right mountain, It is just like one block of texture, copy and paste it all over. So the game has issues.
Yes.
But I think, and this has to probably go with why it's sold so much, it is the type of Pokemon game people want. And
Right.
the gameplay of it is what's enjoyable. Obviously, the monsters, but the pocket monsters.
It's the way that I think a lot of people want it to go. Me in general, I am okay. I want this. I want Pokemon. This is like that. That's where it needs to stay in this open world feel.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. And I've, like I said, the little bit I played with, only about 30 minutes to an hour of it I played. It felt good, felt fun. And yes, there was jank and there were some issues that, part of that is the game development and part of that is
the Switch.
Guys, we're on a Switch. It is how many it was old tech when it was new. So I don't really
2017? I think
was that
March
the first
2017.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, at that point, it was old.
The tech in it was already a year old. So it was coming out with older tech at the time. So I get people well, such and such made Bayonetta. If you can play Bayonetta on this, then certainly this can. Is that true? I mean, what concessions were made and what changes and development was made?
A lot of people are comparing it, well, obviously directly to Arceus because of, it's the same lineage. But I think they're making fair comparisons when they do something like Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Like Breath of the Wild was a launch game on the Switch, and it handles its open world far better than Pokemon does.
Mm-hmm.
The difference, I think, here is that you have the team working on Breath of the Wild is already used to and working with 3D modeling and open world aspects, just big open landscapes.
Right.
Whereas the Pokemon company
are not.
Is it still Creatures Inc. that does? I forget who actually develops the game now, but or Game Freak.
That's a Game Freak, right?
Yeah. They don't.
No, they don't.
They don't have that experience on staff. If you go by their previous releases, so it's one of those things that you would think that Nintendo would be kind of looking over this and be like, okay, we're selling a lot of these, but at a certain point, does word of mouth or does the negative reception of it become too much of a burden where people start, second guessing whether they want to purchase it or not?
Right.
Who knows? Because it sold 10 million in 3 days or something.
Wasn't
ridiculous claim like that.
It wasn't one of its best selling to date or something, or
yeah, it was the best or one of the best 3-day launches for the Switch since it came out.
Yeah,
I think that's.
I was reading somewhere, maybe it was an assumption, but saying that it sold better in 3 days than God of War did.
Oh, sure. Well, pretty much any Nintendo published title on the Switch is almost guaranteed to sell more in the first couple of days than any other consoles, mainly because of how many Switches there are.
True.
And the IP.
True.
So,
Mario
game is going to sell a lot. A Zelda game is going to sell a lot. And a Pokemon game is going to sell a lot.
Right. Well, so kind of on a side tangent, and it kind of relates to the topic in the general sense, but me and Des were talking about it, we were talking about God of War, which I've been playing a lot of. I love the game. It's great. I will say there are two aspects of the game that I hate, and I wish you would take out and bring back to original game more, and that is the puzzles. and the fighting. I hate the fighting. The fighting in this is too much like Dark Souls. It's got too much extra crap. It needs to bring back just the hack and slash. That's why I liked God of War, because I liked the story of God of War and how ridiculous it was. And I like the fact that I could go through the game with basic button combos and basic puzzles and not like I was playing it yesterday and I was doing the Berserker Gravestone, which is kind of like more of a Dark Souls-esque feel where it's like a boss or the main big bad and you're in this like little tight arena and you have to battle them. But I hated it. Hated every moment of it. Freaking almost 2 hours just to get it to beat it, and it was annoying because and then at the end all I got was a thing to upgrade one of my weapons 1 level. I'm like,
perfect,
cool, nothing worth it, because I dislike the fighting in that there's too much contingency stuff built in. Like there's like a whole thing that I haven't even messed with, where there's like a little section of the tree where it's like if you're dodging or if you just dodge, do this to change stance and you'll be able to do this move. I'm like, what? No, that's too much. It's too much. It's God of War. At the end of the day, all he is doing is throwing something and hitting it. He is the epitome of I have sharp, heavy item. It goes, hits thing to kill. Like that. That's all it is. That's what I want. I don't want contingencies. I don't want all this armor crap of like, you get bonus luck if, after hitting such and such attack or whatever. Look, I don't want to think about that. If I wanted to think about trash games like that, I would play Dark Souls, or like I would play like a full-fledged RPG. Get that out of my God of War. I'm done.
I mean, I enjoy Dark Souls and the combat of Dark Souls in a game that's kind of made for it.
Right.
I'm in the same boat as you. I kind of feel like Kratos and the God of War series should be played more like a platinum game.
Yeah.
Combo heavy, just attack, rather than just slow, methodical,
chipping away at the health.
Yeah, chipping away at health.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan.
Well, because his fighting mechanics don't like in Dark Souls, the fighting mechanics and the character and like the world is built that way. In God of War, his fighting mechanics really aren't built that way to do the chipping away of health.
I mean, that's how they designed this particular story to go.
Yeah.
Considering he's an older Kratos, so he's kind of slowed down a little bit. He is more methodical and, he's the wise old man, I guess you could say. So they kind of built the narrative around him being that way.
Right.
So this version of Kratos, yeah, I guess he kind of fits into that style. The way I want to play is not that.
Exactly. And that so to kind of go back to what I was how I led to that was the whole like Pokemon thing of like, the IP. So like, Pokemon IP is like Pikachu
IVs?
and IPs.
Oh, the IP, like the intellectual property. Okay.
Yeah. So like, you've got these IPs where like people will play it because of the character, right? They'll play it because it's Mario. They'll play it because it's Zelda, or they'll play it because it has Pikachu or some Pokemon in it. It's one of those things I've noticed. It's okay for certain games or companies to do that, but it's not okay for others. Like God of War. There are a lot of people before the 2018 version of God of War that when they heard that it was Kratos were upset. They're like, we're done with Kratos. Kratos needs to go away. And it's like, but then you've changed the IP. So it's always weird to me to see like newer stuff. It's harder to get people to accept that, this is after a certain amount of games, they don't have to change the character. Like that's what makes this game the game with this character. There's a lot of like fans and people that want that change of a main character, but still want the game.
Because like they want the same, but they want it to be new and different.
Right. They want fresh, new, and different, but they don't want fresh, new, and different. And then when the company does fresh, new, and different, they're upset because it's not the fresh, new, and different that they wanted.
Right. Like for myself, you know, if the Pokemon Company were to just continue on with the top-down way to play the game, let's say it was basically a Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl type throughout the rest of how Pokemon goes, I'd still be okay with it because I enjoy that way of playing the game.
Ditto.
But
Ditto. I'll be very much the same. Yeah, I'd be very, very much happy with it. Yeah.
But, you know, they've tried something new and with Arceus, and it turned out that was good. I like that way of playing also. So they could do either or, and I'd be fine with it. I'm not sitting here and being like, okay, well, I'm never going to play another Pokemon game until they just do this one style forever and ever.
Right.
For like 3 games. And they'd be like, nope, I'm done with that. Now you got to do something completely different.
Yeah, that's the thing. I play games because I like the game and how it plays, right? Or the story. It doesn't need to change. Like if I wanted something different, then I know, okay, if I want a racing game, I'm not going to God of War.
Well,
you know?
Well, yeah.
But I mean, I realize that's a very drastic difference, but like just that general sentiment. You know, if I wanted a Dark Souls game, I'm not going to God of War. I'm not going to Pokemon, Arceus or whatever to get a Dark Souls experience.
Yeah, I'm
going to the game. I'm going to play Dark Souls, right? I mean, let me phrase that. I'll never play Dark Souls, but if I wanted that experience, that's where I would go.
Right. And it's not to say like you can't do a game. Let's say they did the original style for God of War with, you know, more character action heavy type of attacks. It's not to say you can't do that as a main game and then you have like a spin-off or a side story kind of like Arceus where it is trying the waters with something different.
Right. So you still have that innovation and that difference that, you know, the creators, developers, and some consumers want, but you're not forcing a tunnel of consumers that liked one way into another way and then telling them this is the way to do it. Like it kind of goes back to the like I want to play the game how I want to play it.
Yeah
but going into God of War, which I've played a lot of, those are my biggest gripes, but I still think the game is great. I love the story, and I'm finding out that a lot of people dislike the story or thought the story is too outrageous. I mean,
I haven't played through it. I don't know.
What? Not this story, just like the God of War. So in general, like apparently, like the God of War series it's apparently online known for being just ridiculous story, and I'm like, really? I don't remember seeing that. Like I
don't know if it's ridiculous. I mean, it is a parallel to, you know, Greek mythology, but you know, it's an angry guy going and killing gods.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's why I like it, because it's absurd but it's not far fetched or too far fetched. You know, you haven't gone Metal Gear Solid.
Right. I find it funny you've mentioned 2 Pokemon in like the last 10 to 15 minutes.
Well, you know, all about them puns.
Dittos and Farfetch'd.
Exactly.
Which
I'm sure if you
I don't think Farfetch'd is in
the new one. I don't think.
Yeah, so. I don't recall seeing anybody with one. But Ditto is definitely there because you can breed with Ditto. Did you? Because I know I didn't tell you, but did you ever find out how to breed in Scarlet and Violet?
Not yet. Like I said, I haven't really gotten into Scarlet and Violet yet. I wanna beat.
It is.
I want to finish God of War's story first.
it is easier than in past games, and you
Oh,
can
wait.
do it at any time.
I think you told Des something about it. Like there was a picnic.
Yes,
It's like a picnic. Okay, yeah.
yeah. I didn't go into more detail, but basically, it's a picnic that you do, and the picnics are neat because you go set up a picnic, and everybody in your party, they just come out of their Pokeballs and just kind of chill.
Nice.
So everybody, even your ride Pokemon, is just out there with you guys.
Sweet.
And I don't know if when you're in co-op, if you get to see everybody's Pokemon during a picnic, or if you're even part of it.
I was gonna say, can you be part? I guess. Well, I guess yeah. You could do the picnic.
Well, so
you're just in the same world. You're not necessarily because you can do whatever you want when you do multiplayer, right?
Right. That's what I was going to bring up here is that they've done a really good job of implementing the co-op. There are some things about the co-op that should be, kind of fixed later on. But just being able to hop into another player's world and continue the game as if you're playing by yourself is almost exactly what most, if not all, co-op should be.
Yeah, make it partially passive. Co-op.
Yeah, because you are in their world, sure, and you can go do things with them if you want to, sure, but you don't have to interact with their story if you don't want to. You can go do your own story.
Right.
And that's where I think a lot of co-op games, especially in open world, need to go. So like I can already hear people saying, well, then why aren't you just playing on your own? Well, maybe I do want to play on my own, but then I want to have some help from a friend who's, off on the other end of the map and to do this one mission or to help me go tackle this one job. It's very much GTA Online like where you just go do your own thing and then you can kind of meet up and go tackle something else together. And in Scarlet and Violet, you can do just about that. The only thing I haven't seen yet that you can do is any of the story stuff cooperatively. That's all independent.
Well, okay.
But the raid dens, you can go together with and fight them. Both have a chance to catch and get rewards. You can go travel with each other and watch each other battle. You can battle each other. So there are things you can do together. If you find a spot with let's say a good chance to find a shiny or something.
Yeah.
More often than not, if you're with somebody there, they may also end up seeing that same little outbreak of things. So they might have a chance to get it as well.
So I was actually going to figure out, I haven't played it, do it this way, but if I'm in your world and I see a Chansey, do you have that same instance of a Chansey if you're in the same area that I am, or is it different Pokemon in the area that are running or walking around?
When I was playing with Keegan, I don't recall the both of us seeing the exact same placement of Pokemon. So if there was a Chansey to my left and he was standing next to me, I don't think he also saw a Chansey to my left. There might have been a Chansey there, but they might not have been synced.
Gotcha.
I don't remember looking for it though.
The same RNG of pull, but not necessarily one-to-one placement.
Right. Which that goes along with what I was saying. They need to fix some things, coming into the co-op nature of this game, is that some things, would be better if they were synced. And there are some times where you can see the other player's Pokemon, and there are other times when you don't see. So there was a time Keegan was battling a trainer, and I just come riding up on Miraidon, and he's just standing there with the trainer. They're not there's no Pokemon out. They're not battling or anything. But on his screen, obviously, they're battling.
Right.
So there are some things that need to be fixed.
Where the instance takes place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it taking place in the cloud? Is it taking place in the individual console?
Right. And with all of that, the game is still absolutely fun to play. It is still a Pokemon game.
Right.
Just riding around and being
Your
able
automobile?
to see. Yes. No, riding around on my Miraidon mobile.
Riding around on my mobile. But right, I didn't know you could do that. Riding around on my no, because you
Miraidon
say
mobile?
my riding
Mir-
around on my mobile.
Oh, riding around on my Miraidon mobile.
Yeah, that was hard.
uh, uh, it's just nice to be able to see the Pokemon just there and not having to be like, okay, I'm just going to run through the grass and then,
Yes.
and it still has that special moment of like you just riding or walking by and then there's this like rare Pokemon or there's this one you haven't seen yet and you're like, I got to stop what I'm doing.
I was going to say, I feel that that's, in my opinion, is more of that feeling having them out than me actively searching in the, like just running around in a field and then having an encounter. Because that you're going to get more of a driving along, go, holy crap, and you just stop.
Yeah. So it was funny. There was one bug in the game that I saw online from somebody, and they were riding on their Koraidon, and they were walking through a field. They stop, turn the camera or pan it to the left, and there's a Groudon, a shiny Groudon just standing there. You're not supposed to be able to get that.
All right.
So he's like, what? And he focuses on it, and it's a level 1. So the game obviously glitched out on something there.
Yeah.
But it was just yellow Groudon just walking. It's like,
nice.
What are you doing here?
Excuse me, sir. This is a Wendy's.
Yeah, right. But just that aspect of just stopping everything you're doing to go catch a Pokemon because it's not when you see it is super exciting. Before I figured out the proper way to level up Palmo, the new electric mouse.
Oh yeah.
So Palmo is supposed to be leveled up through the new Pokemon Go feature in the game, which is just throwing your Pokemon out and they walk with you.
Oh, okay. So like the buddy friendship-esque thing. Yeah.
So it's kind of like the leveling up with friendship. This one is based on steps. So how many steps said Pokemon takes.
Yeah.
And Palmo requires 1,000 steps before it can level up. But there seems to be a bug where if you don't throw him out the correct way, it doesn't count. Because if you use the right bumper, you throw him out, but you're basically telling the Pokemon to go attack anything in the general vicinity.
Oh, like that's the attack or gather mode thing?
Right. If you pull the right trigger, you just throw them out.
So you're putting them in a different instance, like, or mode. Yeah.
Yes. So I threw them out in the left button one, the bumper.
Yeah.
And so I throw and he goes and attacks things and then he follows me. So I'm running up and down the west coast of the region in between two of the cities that I've unlocked so far. And I did a couple battles in between and he levels up and nothing's happening. I'm like, well, I know you have to do it by how many steps. And I know that he's walked more than 1,000 steps in between these two places because he's got little tiny legs.
Do they count his steps or your steps?
His steps.
Oh, okay.
So like the one trick I saw online was if you want to level up any of those characters or any of those Pokemon through the Go feature, if they require it, the first town that you go to before you hit the school, if you just do 3 laps around there and then use like a rare candy to level them up, that's enough steps.
Oh, all right.
So it's not actually all that much at all. But this guy would not do it. So then I look online, figured out, It's because I was not throwing him out in the proper way.
He was
So
not in upgrade mode. He was
Right.
in fight mode.
Pretty much. So I threw him out the right way, and I walked around with him, and I decided I'm just going to walk to a new area I haven't been to yet. But because I was focusing on getting him leveled up or getting the steps, I wasn't catching any of the Pokemon that I was seeing, because I had also heard that some people's games would reset the step counter if they got into a battle.
Oh, gee. Okay, that's not fair. That is
So,
that is a fix.
Yeah, that's because like I'm walking through this desert area and I'm seeing some of the new Pokemon. Like, oh, I want to catch you, and I'm seeing some of the existing, like, original 151 guys. I'm like, oh, I gotta come back for you.
Oh, the good ones.
Yeah. Fast travel also in that game. Excellent. Like you can fast travel to any of the Poke stops, and you can fast travel to any of the cities
That you've been to.
Yes.
Right.
You can also later.
And you don't have to be at one, right?
No, you can be out in the wild and just fast travel.
Yeah, see that's the kind of fast travel that I like. Like I get it. Okay, fine guys, it takes it out of your immersion in the world, but it's at the end of the day it's a game. It's still got to be fun.
Right. And that's where you kind of got to make your concessions. It's like, okay,
right.
Does this make sense in world or in game? No, not really. Does it make the game more fun? Yes.
Have you broken the game? Like that's
Right.
that's another big gripe I have with God of War is the fast travel system, because you have to go to a Mystic Gate to fast travel, and the Mystic Gates are not close by. Like, they are. Sometimes you have to backtrack a good 5-10 minutes to get to. Well, I would say 10 minutes, probably 5 minutes to get to a gate to then fast travel to another section of the map of the world that you're in.
Yeah.
Just because it would take you 8 minutes to get to that section, or you have to do a climbing puzzle or something to get there. So that fast travel is something that God of War needed to work out better. I don't know if there's a way to fix that. There really isn't a way to fix that in the patch. Aside from finding a way of allowing you to fast travel to a gate from wherever you are.
Yeah, like through a menu option or something.
Right.
My really, other than like some of the technical issues, I haven't run into many yet. The biggest technical stuff I've run into is like just Pokemon pop in, turn the camera, and they're gone. So it's like, oh, I missed my chance.
It's like, well, you're not there. Okay.
But other than something like that, my only real gripe with the game so far has been that there's no like quest log. So
oh right, yeah.
So you don't, once you leave the school, they tell you go. So like you kind of get an idea of what you should be doing based off of the 3 people that you interact with after you leave the school or when you're in the school. So if you zoom out on the map, you'll see exclamation marks and like icons of where you should be going. Like if you want to do the gym path, or if you want to go do the Team Star path, kind of like this game's version of Team Rocket. Or if you want to go hunt these Titan Pokemon. So it's going to give you those options via the icons on the map to go and find and do. So in a sense, yeah, there's a quest log, but it's on the map and you got to zoom out and find these things. Whereas it would be nice if there was a log of just text, a couple lines where it's like, okay, here, click here to go to the next Titan. And then it pulls it up on your HUD, shows you that you're working on the Titan for the next one, and it gives you a marker on your mini map or something. That would be great.
Kind of how a lot of open world games have kind of figured that out now.
Yeah. So I mean, they don't do that.
Right.
But
they just need to take, and again, just need to take some notes from other games and figure that out, because like you said, it's only their second like open world venture, and they're still figuring it out.
And this
You know,
isn't even the same team exactly who was working on Arceus, because Arceus was a different team within Game Freak, or it might have been not farmed out, but it might have been a different developer under the supervision of Game Freak. I don't
yeah,
remember how that went.
I remember that being a thing where it's like Game Freak was the
Because
developer, but they didn't actually do most of it. They farmed out a lot of that or something. I remember that being a thing.
or maybe it was the opposite in that they were doing that one, and it was Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl that was contracted out. One of those
Something
two
like that, yeah.
situations happened, and it is they basically had to, right after they were done Arceus, get on to work with the other team onto Scarlet and Violet.
Right. And one thing, so this is going to be like my last uh pop to God of War, and it's just because I've been playing a lot of it. But you reminded me of God of War. Like, can developers please just be okay with adding accessibility options of having a compass or a mini map? Because
Yes.
first, the mini map in this game, I mean, the compass in this game is garbage, more than a normal compass is. It's really bad. It doesn't, like, you'll be going to the thing, and then it'll spin and be like, you're going south, and then the thing that you put on your compass, when you're not next to it yet but close, like it's still technically in front of you, it'll be to your left, and you're like, what? Or to your right, and you're like, wait, what? It's here? No, you've got to go another 4 steps, and then, or 5 steps, and then you're at it. It makes it feel like you're at the point before you're actually at the point.
Right.
So it's not great in that fact, but on the same on the overall factor of, if you had a mini map, that would alleviate all of that.
It's so dumb. I don't like the compass. I like a mini map. Um, eh, People like it for the immersion aspect. Give your player the choice.
And that's it. It's like, okay, fine, people like it. I'm not saying they're wrong. I mean, I'm saying they're wrong, but as an overall, like, as a joke, yes. But in overall, they're not wrong because it's how they like to play the game. But give the player that option. Say compass or mini map or both. I mean, I know people that play with both.
Sure.
And use the mini map for, when they're closer to the location, and use the compass when they're like, 1,000 yards away. It's like the compass will tell them go roughly this direction, and then now they're ignoring the compass when they're like, a couple hundred feet away, and they're looking at their mini map.
Yeah, like the compass is great if you need to know where something is, like, way out in the distance, because rather than having the icon in the world, that would be the alternative, which I don't mind either.
Yeah, I don't mind that in the world. Yeah.
But if you want to clean up your, field of view, then yeah, throw it up on a compass, and that's where you need. It's kind of pointing you, go this way. But then when you get close, you don't want that compass, because that compass is going to tell you all the information you need. A mini map will, though.
Right. Especially the whole like up and down. Like if you're playing a vertical game, the compass ain't going to tell you squat. Now you could put like a little arrow above or arrow down, but that's usually just more clutter.
Yeah,
I think in that HUD.
I think most games are still kind of trying to figure out the best way for elevation maps. When it comes to like the regular map or even a mini map, because there are some games where it's like you get close and there's a little tiny arrow that points up, but it's not prominent enough for you to know that it's pointing up or down. It's like, well, where is this thing I'm supposed to be finding? Oh, it's actually above you.
Yep. But that's my last God of War ticket there. So I do know that you've been talking a lot about Violet, and you played Gotham Knights, but there's another game on here on your list here that I have not played, that you messed around with. So what is that guy?
So we have a review code copy for Need for Speed Unbound. It actually came out we've received the code as the early access came out. So there's no like embargoes or anything on it. So everybody just basically got a chance to play it at the same time. But it was early access for those who have EA Play Ultimate or whatever, or if you pre-ordered the game. And Need for Speed Unbound is the best way I can describe it. It is Need for Speed Heat 2. It is basically the same game that they've had since Payback. Technically, since they've had the Need for Speed reboot back in 2015, the one with the FMV video.
Yeah.
It's been basically the same game from Ghost Games with, some changes here and there. Payback introduced the different tier of cars. You have your rally, your grip, your drift, your off-road, things like that. So that's been in Payback, Heat, and now Unbound. Unbound has the same day-night cycle setup that Heat does, where anything you do during the day will transfer over into the night. So any cops or any heat that you gather during the day is going to affect your nighttime races. And your daytime races are what's going to help determine the qualifiers, quote unquote qualifiers, for your nighttime stuff. And the races that you do during either are going to generate more heat. And when you reach a certain level of heat, then the cops become more plentiful. They end up getting like different vehicles. When you get to level 5, they throw in helicopters and undercover cops, which that's kind of dumb because when a cop finds you, they find you. So it's like the undercover doesn't do anything. The only thing I haven't noticed is if on the mini map they don't show up. Maybe they're ghost cars. But it starts out as just regular Chargers. Then it moves to the heavy Explorers. Then they get Corvettes for high speed. And then they finally end up doing the undercovers and helicopters. And it's hard like to escape those. I found it actually harder to escape those than in Heat. I mean, in Heat than in Unbound, which is I'm fine with, because Heat it was a little too difficult at times to escape the cops. So you kind of end up losing the money that you gained during the day or the night, and it just becomes frustrating. So this one's not as bad. Like I mentioned, the money aspect. You bank your money until you go back to the garage. But if you go back to the garage, you end your session. So it's almost Souls-like in that way, where if you go back to a campfire, you've banked your souls that you've gathered, and you have reset the world.
So NFSS, Need for Speed Souls.
Yeah, sure. Yes. I was going to make a Praise the Sun joke, but I didn't think of how to make that work. So all the cars in the game so far are the exact same cars that they've had in Heat and Payback and the DLCs. So this is quite literally Need for Speed Heat, the sequel. They just not in name. And the thing that makes this different is the art style, which is really cool. Like the almost hand animated car effects, your drifts with the smoke, your drafting with the lines going over the car, showing you that you're drafting, all the different flourishes that happen when you're like in the air, or if you're hitting a wall, if you bang another car. It's all really like graffiti style, and it just looks cool. The character designs leave a lot to be desired. I could see what they were going with the flat shading and everything, but I feel you lose a lot of the character emotion in their faces because of how flat everything is. If they just had maybe one or two shades of shading more on there, I think it would have benefited a whole lot more. Speaking of the characters, the dialogue in this game is absolute garbage. It is absolute garbage.
I mean, it's Need for Speed. I didn't expect great.
I mean, the story
dialogue
itself is just generic rags to riches story that you would see in any early like Fast and Furious type of movie. You know, it is about two orphans who are taken under the wing of this shop owner, and you know they become best of friends, and then one of them turns on you, and now you and the shop owner gotta fight the good fight and you know get back at him. It is every other like not gangster story, but like underground fight scene type story. It's just that. And the dialogue is, like I said, it's atrocious. It's poorly written. It's gonna sound bad, but it feels like it was written by just a bunch of people who don't know the scene, thinking they know the scene. Like you get a bunch of stiff suits in the boardroom. Like this is how people growing up on the streets act. No, that's like the stereotype that you're playing into, and it just becomes it doesn't become genuine, and it feels very cringy. Just like that bad, like, ew, this is ick. Doesn't help that I have to assume this next issue is because of COVID and everything, but the voice acting individually, separated by themselves, sound fine. Other than your main player, which that dude sounds like they just phoned it in, like really bad. Yeah. But everybody else is great by themselves. When they try to stitch these conversations together, they either feel like that they're trying to talk over one another, or the conversations sound like they read off what the person said to the voice actor, and they told the voice actor go. They didn't give the voice actor like any inflection or how the sentence that they're responding to was said, because it just sounds like everybody's starting a brand new sentence.
Okay, so there was no like lead up, like they've taken the information that was previously said.
Well, sometimes they will respond in that way, but I mean like in the way that it's said, the reflection or inflection.
Yeah. Well,
So, like,
that's what I mean. Like what was the sentence that was just said had no bearing on the new sentence but only the subject. So if someone was angry previously at this sentence, your immediate response to that would be, yes, this response, but I would have some sort of inflection or tone or emotion in this sentence. It was just literally someone reading the line.
Yeah, you feel like normally a conversation flows, and the way people speak to each other, you know, that flows with it. Whereas this, it's like starting a new line of a paragraph every time somebody talks.
Oof.
So it's like, you know, you are quite literally just one sentence ends, the next sentence begins, all the tone and everything resets. And it just doesn't go together.
And yeah, that could be the voice actors or actors and actresses, or it could be just how, you know, it's the person directing them saying like, you know, this is the intent that this person was putting in. What, you know, how are you going to? And I think that's probably more of it. The director didn't direct.
But yeah, and you know, with COVID and everything, you can't really get the the actors in studio together to bounce off one another. So you know, but that's not stopped voice performances before. So I don't know why this one is so bad, but it's been bad since the live action ones. The full motion video. Payback was really bad. everything was just as cringy, if not worse. Heat wasn't as terrible. It was fine. Um, but it wasn't like make me want to rip my ears out bad. Whereas Unbound is just it is terrible. There is a time skip, and after the time skip occurs, the dialogue gets a little better, but that's because there's less banter between everybody. Now, there are times before and after races there's banter, and it's fine until it isn't. But when you're just out there driving by yourself, it's either the radio, commercials, or your character reacting to commercials. Maybe occasionally you'll get like some dialogue from one of the other racers, and that's all okay. But again, your player character just feels like they are phoning it in. There's I don't I don't know really the best way to explain it other than it feels monotone, but trying not to be monotone. It's just not great.
Mm.
That aside, the game is an absolute blast to play because it is still the same gameplay that they've had since, we'll go as far as Payback, where Payback was a really good Need for Speed game that was saddled by microtransactions and loot boxes.
Yeah, it was.
Heat fixed that because you didn't have to worry about the loot box nature of it. You could actually just buy the parts. And in Unbound, they do the same thing. You can just go out and buy the parts. So you're not bound by any microtransactions or loot boxes anymore. So the gameplay is great. It's fun. The cars drive how you expect them to drive in this later series of games. So the drifting is very slidey. The grip is, we'll say it's grippy. The one thing that feel these latest Need for Speed games have done is slide the scale over from being more of a racing, like Apex, take the Apex sort of racing game, to just hit the brake and drift around corners. And you can feel that, especially in the last two releases within Heat and in Unbound. You can change a slider. There's no real like car tuning. It's not like GT or Forza or anything. It is quite literally just a bar that goes from grip to drift. And you can slide the bar to be more grippy, or you can slide the bar to be more drifty. And I feel like they penalize you if you slide it to the grip side, because no matter how I've taken or tried to take these turns in the city, which the city is a fictional Chicago, it looks gorgeous, by the way. I think it's a perfect place to be, like, if you want to do that sort of street scene. But if you slide all the way to grip, there's something about it that you just don't hit the apexes right, and doesn't matter what the computer opponents are doing, they will always go faster than you. To solve that, you have to switch your style to the drift style and slide around all the corners, which is fine. It's fun, but it's, it kind of forces you to play in that way. And then if you don't, have it set up right with the right parts or the right spot on the slider, you could oversteer your drift and just you lose all speed. Or the one thing I'm noticing is I will typically hit the nitrous to come out of a drift just to make sure I keep speed. And it feels like they penalize you for that. Especially if the drift was a little too harsh and your tail end is a little further out than it should be, you hit the nitrous and it just locks you back into place and goes straight, which you would think, oh, great, now I'm just going full blast. But you're not, because they've done something to cut your speed so that when you do that, now you're half your speed and you're just going. So anybody who's taking that drift turn without the nitrous is probably going to pass you. There is, from what I can tell, rubber banding going on too, which I've never been a fan of. I don't like it. if I'm dominating, I want to dominate. And if I'm losing, oh well, I will restart. But they kind of kneecap you there because depending on what difficulty you choose, determines how many restarts you're allowed to have. And the only way to refill those restarts is to go to the garage and end your day or night. So overall, I'm enjoying my time with Unbound. I don't like the underground feel of it, Need for Speed Underground feel of it. But that's kind of what they're going for to get that audience back. And the only thing that I've had to do is I've had to turn the music off. I gave the music a chance. It's not my type of music, which, not everything's going to be, obviously. And it kind of fits with the story and the atmosphere that they're building here. But while I'm racing, while I'm free driving, I can't. It was absolutely like running your nails over a chalkboard to me. So I had to turn that off right away. And now that I turned it off, it's fine. I'm having a good time and enjoying driving around the city. There's a ton of collectibles to find. They do a nice thing with the collectibles where if you get close enough to one on the mini map, it'll show you a blue area on the map where it's like, okay, there's something collectible to find here. So you drive close enough to it, and then it pops up on the map what it was. And once you've collected it, it'll put a little check mark on your map showing you that you've collected it, which is fine. I like that. I want them to go one step further and give you the option to hide any of the ones that you've already collected. Because after a while, your map's just going to be filled up with a bunch of, the icons that show either collected or not collected, and it's just going to become a big old mess. So give me the option to hide anything I've already collected, and we'd be fine.
Yeah.
But I do think if you like Need for Speed or you enjoy racing games, this one is not a bad one to catch up with. I feel you'll probably, I guess it depends on your what type of car movies you like. But I feel like Heat is probably the better of the two games, especially with how close they are and the way they play and everything. Also, this one is like the first one that they advertise as Criterion's back and like they're working on it. Also Codemasters. But like I mentioned, it's basically Heat. So other than the flourishes and the new art style for the characters, what all did Criterion do? Because it drives the same. The world, maybe they did the map. I don't know. Oh yeah, real quick. One of the things that caught my eye that was just I don't remember it being in Heat, and I don't really remember seeing this on any other racing game, especially something like a Forza, is when you go to customize your license plate, normally you can choose your background. And usually it's the background for like whatever fictional city that you're in. So they do that with Unbound. And you've got the fictional city of Lakeshore, but they also have a few of the fictional cities of previous Need for Speeds, which is cool. But then they go through and they give you all 50 US states. So like all the license plates are there. Are there. That's really cool. And I don't know why that's something that other racing games have not done yet. Like these are all the main license plates. Not, well, Maine the state, obviously, but like the default one that when you go to register your car, they are going to give you. And it's just really cool to be like, oh, now I'm going to have my plate be from Maryland. I'm going to have it be from Virginia.
Right? Yeah.
This is my Arizona plate. So it's cool. And I think more games should take that lesson and run with it. But I'll have a review out for Unbound probably within the next week. I've got some other reviews coming down the pipeline. I'll need to get out there. But I do think if you like racing games, Unbound's not a bad one to dip your toes in. But if you want to save a little money, just go get Heat. Plus, Heat allows you to do co-op in the open world, if I remember right, where Unbound separates their open world single player and multiplayer. So if that's something that is kind of a selling or non-selling point to you, just know the multiplayer is sectioned off into its own thing.
Gotcha.
Well, that's a lot of stuff that we had to cover since we've been gone. I mean,
since we've been gone.
What? Yes. Sorry. Shoot. Who sings that song again?
Demi Lovato? No.
No. It's the lady.
Oh, that's
I want to. No, that's who I wanted to say too, but it's not. It's American Idol lady.
Isn't Carrie Underwood American Idol lady too?
No. This is the lady who has her own talk show now.
Kelly Clarkson.
Yes, Kelly Clarkson.
I had to Google it.
Why did I forget that name?
I don't know. I like.
She has.
I've already forgotten the name. Kelly Clarkson. That's so bad.
Yes, but we've got a lot to cover. I've played other things, just kind of dabble here and there that I'm not even going to bother because it was so short. But I think we're good on what we've been playing because we're almost probably about an hour and 40 minutes at this point into this podcast, and we haven't even got to the topic yet.
Well, the topic was like it spawns off of God of War, and it's very basic. Like, I just really wanted to talk about look, people had issues with Atreus in the 2018 God of War, and
every time you say Atreus, I keep wanting to blend that with the song Amadeus.
Atreus. This is a very song heavy. This is a very song heavy one. But like, there's a lot of people had issues with Atreus, and they were like, he's super annoying, and and it's like,
you get that a lot with the teen characters, though.
And the thing is, I get it, and it's that like it really puts me, and this is this is going to throw me into the dad category, right? But it puts me into it's because you don't have kids.
Part of that, yeah. If you're not around kids, you don't understand.
Right. You don't understand that kids are constantly asking questions not to be annoying, but because they legitimately have no idea what is going on. See, when you were a kid, you did it to your parents and your superiors and adults because you didn't know what was going on. Right. You didn't realize it. So now that you are the adult, because now you're the adult now, you're not the kid. You're the one with the knowledge. You're the one that needs to pass it down because you didn't just know how to poop on the potty. You were trained that. Right? You didn't just know how to walk. You learned that.
Do you think Kratos taught Atreus how to potty? Or was
no. That was Faye. 100% Faye. Kratos, what do you think? What do you think he's gonna do? He's not gonna say his famous line: "Do not be sorry, be better."
Yeah,
he just goes, "Do not be sorry, poo
Daddy,
better."
It won't come out. I can't poo. Boy, you have to poo.
Boy, do not be sorry, poo better. Hit the ring. But that's the thing is like in the first game. I really felt the first game was a story about Kratos being, Kratos finding himself in a journey, but also Atreus was like a secondary main character because the game really was about him. Like it was about his story, and Kratos was just that, like he was the one you were seeing the story from, right? Because you could have had that first game be about Atreus. And it would still work in the almost identical way. It's just a different perspective. So your perspective was from, Atreus' story in the perspective of Kratos and him trying to work his way into Atreus' story. Whereas, so he wasn't really a side character. In this one, he's still a very big part of the main story.
Right.
But I actually feel more he is a side character in how he plays. or in how they talk about his story, but he is a main character in how he plays. So kind of like the 2018 one and this one have swapped. Whereas the 2018, he felt like a main story character, but played like a side character. And in this one, he plays like a main character, but has more of a side aspect. Like what he does is affecting Kratos specifically in Kratos' story.
Which, sure, makes sense. Why wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, overall, you take Atreus, he is a side character. He is a side character that I would love to have, and I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this, but I would love to see him as the main protagonist in a God of War, in the next God of War. I like how he plays better than Kratos, and I like his story better than Kratos.
Well, I mean,
his upcoming story,
without playing, through the game or anything, these last two games feels like it is a lead up to do something like that.
Yeah, and I have not beaten the game, mind you, so I don't know how that plays out, but I would not have any issues with playing as Atreus, because his movesets and his character build is I like better. But also he doesn't do a whole lot of melee, that's my jam. I'm an archer.
I mean, I like doing the in other games, being the distance person also, unless I really need to get up there. Usually it has to do with how fast I can attack. If it's a slow attack, then I just rather just stick back and just, use like a spear or arrows or something. But if it's fast, then yes, I want to get in there and stab.
Right. Yeah, if I can get like quick 5-6 stabs, walk and dodge away and do some more stabs and just keep kind of like speeding around them. Yeah, I'll be up close and personal kind of thing. But typically, most games like that don't allow that ability. So I shoot from the shadows. I pick them off when they can't get me or they're paying attention to someone else. But yeah, our topic was the side character and like not necessarily who's the best side character, but what our favorite side characters were. And I mean, mine is currently it is Atreus.
Right.
I like Atreus as a side character very much, but I also like Mimir. Like he is the definition of a side character. The talking head in God of War.
Yeah,
because I like his banter with Kratos.
So let me try to pinpoint what you would consider a side character, because the first side character I'd go with would be something like Garrus. Is that a side character? Or is that...
So my definition of a side character is playability.
So
aspects. So not necessarily story. So like it's someone that is there giving you story beats and maybe helping you every once in a while, but you don't get to play as them. You are not in control of them. But I understand that that is only like 50% of what a side character, not even that, of what a side character is. You can be a side character and be playable.
Right.
So
I was about to say, because you can play as Atreus, right?
Right. And that's the thing is that it's grown more. So like you said, Garrus, all of the Mass Effect characters are side characters because you are a shepherd, and they're all side characters. But because of that Mass Effect aspect, that side character thing has kind of grown to be like a party, and they join you.
So then would you say something like Cortana is more of a side character then?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I do consider a character like Garrus a side character. It's that like I had to boil it down to the very basic bare bones of like, is it a character that you play? Is it the intent, the main story, or the main character that you play? No, then they're a side character.
Right.
They're not an NPC because it's not someone that you meet once or twice. It's someone that's with you all the time. So they are, they would be a side character. So in like this aspect, that's why I had the difficulty of like, I find Atreus a good side character, but he's not really a side character in the new game because you play as him. So I would be okay with saying he is a he is another main character. So that's why I mentioned Mimir. Mimir is definitely a side character, and I find him to be probably the best one that of many games I've played.
Okay. So, yeah, if we go by that, then I guess, if we're counting Garrus, I would say my favorite would be Garrus, with a close second to be in something like Cortana. Like, would you consider Luigi a side character?
No, I would because you can play as Luigi.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can utilize the you play as them so they're not a side character. I think what, at least this is how I would take it, that they would have to be ancillary to the main character. So they
Luigi,
they can have their own story, they can be playable, they can have their own thing, but they are tied to the main character in some way through the story.
okay, but here's my question: Luigi has his own game, and Mario is his side character.
He only has his own game because he was a side character.
Right, but that's the thing is he has his own game, so you're saying a side character cannot become a main character.
No, that's not necessarily what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that they, through whatever game that they're in, it doesn't have to be just one game. It could be multiple games, or it could just be the series as a whole or something. Is that you have your main protagonist, and then as a side character, they are connected in some way to that main protagonist. So, like in Luigi's case, in the first few games or whatever, he is player 2. He is the second player to Mario. He joins him on his adventure.
Right.
He later on, because the character is so popular, he does end up, becoming part of the adventure. Instead of being a Mario game with Luigi, now it's a Mario and Luigi game. And then later on, Luigi gets his own stuff with like Luigi's Mansion or new Luigi U or whatever. But he's still, in my eyes, he's still Mario's sidekick.
So
now, granted, it is still a, you don't typically think of Mario without Luigi or vice versa. Probably more Luigi without Mario, but I digress.
Well, and but so that's where I think it actually has to determine on the game, right? Because in my opinion, Luigi is a sidekick in the Mario games, but he is not a sidekick. He is not a secondary or a side character in Luigi's Mansion. Mario becomes that side character, though he's not in all of them. He is there helping with the progression of story, but he's no longer the sidekick. Or
right, but you can't
say side character. He's no longer the side character.
In this discussion of favorite side characters, that doesn't mean he's not a side character anymore. Like if you were to go, let's say, we go to Marvel and you've got Bucky Barnes. He is obviously Captain America's side character, but Bucky's his own hero also. So
I don't see.
You can, and like Robin, Robin is Batman's sidekick.
Yes, the Robin, but not Nightwing. No, let's put it this way: Robin is Batman's sidekick, but not Dick Grayson, not Jason Todd. Like that character is those two characters are no longer Robin,
right?
And they're no longer the sidekick.
But by your logic, if they star in their own, let's say, comic book, then they are no longer a sidekick.
Yes.
And Robin has had his own comic book before. So
but
like I don't think you can discount them being a sidekick just because in a one form of media or another they become a main character.
Well, I'm not saying that they're no longer the sidekick or they're no longer the side character. I'm saying you have to take in the media that you're talking about them in. So like if you're saying Batman and Robin is the side character. If you're talking about a medium or a comic where it's just Robin, then and Batman's in it, Batman is the side character because
Nope.
Robin is now the main.
Right. So
I'm not saying you discount Robin as a side character entirely. I'm saying we have to take it in a in the medium, how the story that is being told.
Well, yeah. So I guess I'm getting confused because when I mentioned Luigi, you were implying that no, he's not a side character because he has his own game, but he is.
So he can be,
and then you're saying, well, no, it's game dependent whether he's a side character. So I guess my question here is, by your logic, which is it?
Dependent. Well, see, and I said that first, and then I realized because he has another game, but he is still technically a side. So that's when I made that secondary statement of like, well, actually, it should be game dependent or medium dependent or I guess subject dependent, not game dependent, whatever the subject is. So like if you're following Kratos, Atreus is a side character. If you're following Atreus, then someone else or Kratos or whoever, Atreus is the main. Whoever the story's intent, whoever you're seeing the story through, anyone else in that is the side character. I guess the same thing through life. I am always the main character and everyone else is the side character, but everyone is the main player in their own lives.
Everybody's the main character in their own story.
In their own right,
yes.
Yeah. But
even though some people would believe that they are the main character in everybody else's story.
Well, yeah. So you're saying Garrus?
Yeah, I'd go with Garrus as my favorite side character. Close second to be something like Cortana.
Okay.
If I had to round it out for a third one, I don't know. Trying to just pick one out of like a bunch of, like, I'm going through like who's in Metal Gear. No, I don't really like any of those guys other than Snake.
That's the exact same. So like I like Atreus and I like Mimir, and I'm going, well, those are both God of War. And is that just because I'm recently playing them or playing the game? So I went back and I just looked at a bunch of games that I played, and I'm like, okay, Metal Gear. Who's been like a side character then? And don't like that.
I'm not really a fan of Ocelot.
I don't
Revolver
like
Ocelot. Obviously, Liquid Snake is not bad.
Yeah, I mean, Gray Ghost, I guess.
Sure,
but I really don't like him. Like, he's just cool because he's cool-ish, but like, I don't like his character. It's not like necessarily good.
Wait, you say Gray Ghost or Gray Fox?
A Gray Fox. I said Gray Ghost. I meant Gray Fox.
Okay,
sorry.
Yeah, Gray Fox. I mean,
not great.
Meryl's not bad for a character.
Yeah, I guess.
They kind of do her wrong in Solid, but
yeah, But I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not. I don't know. It's one of those, like, when I hear side character, those people don't pop up, and like,
no,
Metal
that's
Gear's,
why I saying it's like there's nothing in Metal Gear that I'd be like, yeah, that's my favorite side character.
Sad character, right? I mean, like, for me, the ones that popped up that were not God of War, it was Thane from Mass Effect.
Okay, Thane's. Oh, you know what I just thought of? Now I'm drawing a blank on it. Majima.
Okay, yeah. So that's another one. I would say, yeah, I guess Majima, even though he does that's a progression thing.
I mean, I feel that's a good side character. Or you know what? Yeah. How about the chicken you win from the bowling mini game and Zero?
Yeah, okay. Nugget. I'll go with that. I can go with that. So and because I was at that point of trying to figure out, like, okay, what are some other ones that just games that maybe I haven't played in a while or just haven't thought of much of, So I went in, Googled it, and was like 10 best, or I said best video game side characters, right?
Right.
And the very first one that came up was from CBR.com, which is just a general
book review.
Yeah, comic book reviews. And they're talking about video game side characters. And it was top 10, and I'm looking at it and I go, I haven't played any of these games.
All right, so you were telling me about this, and I stopped you from telling me all the characters because we're going to play a little game here. We're going to see if I can guess the game the character comes from just by name alone.
Yes. So first one they put up as in 10 of 10 is Elizabeth.
That's BioShock Infinite.
Yes. 9, Ellie.
Oh, Last of Us.
Yes. Which this is where that the thing of the store the medium or the game or the story very much dictates side character, right? Because isn't she the main character in Last of Us 2?
Yes. She is the main in Last of Us 2.
Because Joel dies, right? Or something ends up where
yes, I mean, spoiler.
Of Last of Us?
Part 2, yes. Because it doesn't happen.
I don't know about... I thought it happened at the end of Last of Us. Oh. Last of Us 2. When was that? That was the beginning of... That was a while ago, wasn't it?
2
years
last
year.
ago?
2 years ago. Okay, yeah. All right, so listen. I've already said it. If it's more than a year, I will spoil it. Sorry. You've had the time.
Because, I mean, it's also kind of not... I mean, maybe it is. It happens within the first hour.
Okay. Well, something had to happen with a transition game. So the obvious thing is that he dies because they're in a zombie apocalypse. So the obvious thing is he dies. So therefore you then transition to Ellie as a player. But
yeah.
I know nothing about Last of Us 2.
And it gives it gives Ellie that revenge aspect to go after who they're going after.
Right. With the obvious trope that almost every serious video game does. You killed my enter person here.
Right.
Here's one you probably will get. Snow White.
What? Just the character of Snow White?
The character Snow White.
Is this Disney's Snow White or is this Snow White?
No. Not Disney Snow White.
What game would Snow White be in that's not Disney?
Well, it's not the
Wait. Is it shoot, that Telltale game?
The one that you
what is that called? Playing? Why am I drawing a blank on that? The Wolf Among Us.
There you go, Wolf Among Us. Yes. So that was the first game in the list that I've played, and I'm like, I guess because she is there most of that game, isn't she? As your like secondary to Bigby. But I don't remember. I didn't play it all the way through to know.
Yeah, I don't remember playing through Wolf Among Us. I think I have it. I don't think I have.
Yeah, well, because we were sharing it on your Steam.
Okay. Yeah, so I do have it.
The other one, this one, Clementine.
Oh, yeah, the other Telltale, Walking Dead.
Yep.
That one I did play through.
Did not play that one.
Not ashamed to say that I cried at the end. Like,
yeah, was it
big man tears?
Oh.
That one hits hard at the end.
Well, I mean, it's zombies, so I ignore it. So haven't played it and won't play it. Sadie Adler.
Oh, that's Red Dead.
Red
Dead 2.
Yeah, I didn't like Sadie Adler. I found her to be abrasive and annoying. But a lot of people like her.
I think part of that is because she does give main protagonist energy throughout Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they were to spin off a DLC or
it would be the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah. And she would make a fine protagonist in that game.
Yeah. I didn't like her because she felt very over the top, one way to the other. She was that like hiding from the people who killed her husband, farmhand. Oh, woe is me, damsel in distress, and then she becomes the complete flip side, and it's like that's so different. And I don't know, she became very abrasive. But then again, to be real, a lot of the characters in Red Dead Redemption 2 became abrasive to the point where I disliked them.
I mean, like, each character has their funky trait that makes you want to second guess whether you like them or not.
Because there was no second guessing.
I mean, they're a bunch of criminals.
I got to the point where I'm like, oh, I just really don't like you. Michael was obviously the first one.
Oh yeah, Micah,
then the next one
from the very get-go of the game is like, well, one, you seem sketch. Two, you're just a terrible person.
Yeah, right. You're just an a-hole.
Like you don't even have why am I drawing like the villain's Cree or
like you don't have like the justification, like, okay, they're a bad person, but overall they meant well, or they haven't there's a reason why they're this way.
They're
He's
all
just
together as a team, and they're looking out for one another, even though they're doing bad things. He's just bad.
He's just cruel for no reason. And like the next one was Dutch. I very quickly hated Dutch.
Dutch, yeah, no, I don't. At the very beginning, they try to make you empathize with him a little bit, but you kind of realize throughout Red Dead 2, he's just kind of lost his mind.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is like the point at which I saw where they wanted you to they wanted to show you that, hey, yeah, this guy is not a good dude, or where this guy has made that turn where you start to see more of him, of who he is, kind of thing, and is not a role model. I saw where they wanted that to happen. I was on that side way ahead. Like, I mean, it probably was in the first an hour or 2 hours of the game. I was like, okay, that guy, I don't like him. He's too charismatic and too go with the flowy in this world, and he's dropped too many like old world vibe thought process. Like it just, this guy's an ass. I don't like him. Or sorry, but. So the next one, you might not know this one, because I don't know if you played the game, and I haven't played it. But Yuna.
Yuna, what, from Final Fantasy?
No, not that one. Yuna. I think I'm saying it correctly.
Yuna. Yeah, shoot. The only Yuna I know is from Final Fantasy.
Could be pronounced Wana. I don't know.
Is it from Zelda?
No, it's from Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't played through enough of that.
Yeah, and from the little description I've seen here, it does say Yuna or Wana is the single most important character in Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously I haven't played through enough of it yet then.
I think it's the first person you meet in the game when you play.
Maybe.
But I don't remember. Here's one I was like, okay, and I'd never played this, and I have it on a console. I started it and realized this is not my game. But it's Futaba Sakura.
Futaba Sakura. I don't recognize that name.
Persona 5 Royale.
Oh, okay. Yeah, unless it's some of the more mainstream characters, I probably won't know.
You probably
any
don't.
of the Persona characters.
Yeah, this one you probably will know. Angel, but it's such a generic name.
Yeah, I know. That's.
I guess I got to give it. Where am I going to give it?
Angel.
It's not going to.
Angel.
I don't know anything about this game. Angel. It involves vault hunters.
I mean, you say vault hunters as if it's, what is that, Borderlands?
It is Borderlands.
Vault hunters is probably way too big of a clue. Angel.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, I haven't played Borderlands, so it just seemed it was a very innocuous word that was kind of hinted. Okay, Vault Hunters is bigger than I thought. Your
character in the game, out of the 4 characters, they are all Vault Hunters.
Okay, well, yep, that was bigger than I thought.
Okay, Angel. Which one's Angel?
1 and 2?
1 and 2. Wait a minute. Oh. The Angel's the lady who speaks to you through, like, little burst transmissions.
Oh. Okay.
Like, I want to say the only live action character in those games.
Oh.
At least I think it's a live action. But it's done in the way like a digital Cortana type reception.
Oh,
where it's kind of like Princess Leia, Luke, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope.
Yeah, I gotcha. The 2 of the second one, so that was top. That one starts the top 3 that they said, right? So number 2 they say is Dog Meat.
Oh, from Fallout.
From Fallout 1, 3, and 4.
Yep.
Also did not play that. I mean, I can see how that could be it's a dog.
Dog Meat's cool. I think there's a case to be made for favorite animal companion.
Oh, animal companion? Oh, certainly. I mean, there's plenty of them. Dang, I'd have to do research for that one because I would be really into that one. The number 1 And so looking at a lot of these, review or lists, it really shows the types of games that these people, the person writing plays.
Oh, sure.
And because it shows their opinion to the game,
Well,
to what they think. Which is
Technically,
fine.
that's what it is. It's an opinion piece on what they're considering their top.
Right.
But they're
And it's
framing
just
it
one of
as
those.
the top.
It is funny because I was going through them, and very rarely did I see overlapping characters. Is what I was, because I was looking. What I do with this kind of stuff is I try to look at a bunch of like the top 10, top 5, whatever, and I try to see, okay, of these 8 different pieces, 4 characters overlap between these 8, right? And so it's like, okay, so a good majority of my majority of the research that I did, these, the majority of these people like these characters or like these ideas or whatever. There was like very few. I think Garrus, I would think, may have been the only one. And like here, their number 1 is Donald and Goofy, which you obviously know what that is from Kingdom Hearts, right?
I don't know. That seems unfair.
Right? So, yeah.
They fit the qualification, but it does seem unfair.
But it does seem very unfair, right? Because it's very star power there. And like I said, I've got some other ones opened. There's like ones like this one here. It has Chloe Frazier from Uncharted.
Oh,
it's got
Chloe's good.
Charles Smith instead of Sadie Adler. From Red Dead.
Isn't Charles the Native American?
Yes, Charles is the Native American. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then you got Garrus on here.
Yeah.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, from Assassin's Creed 2.
From Assassin's Creed, and then Mimir.
Yeah,
that was the top 5. So there was no overlap in there, but there was overlap in game. Right?
Right.
And here's another one that has another 10. Then Sam Drake.
Okay. Sam Drake, though, fun. He's fine.
Yeah. Steph Gingrich, which I didn't play this game.
Steph Gingrich?
Steph. Life is Strange. True Colors.
Oh, True Colors. I was about to say,
that
name doesn't sound familiar. I never played True Colors or watched any videos on it.
Yeah. Rivet.
Oh, Rivet from Ratchet and Clank. The new one.
Yep. This one has an overlap of Una or Wana.
Right.
Nick Valentine.
Nick Valentine. Oh, shoot. What is Nick from? He's Fallout.
Yep, Fallout.
He's Fallout 4.
4. Yep.
He's the Private Eye robot.
Yep. Then you've got another one, Tommy Miller. That it's from a game that we've talked about, but not the side character that they had mentioned, or the other ones had mentioned.
That's The Last of Us, right?
That's Last of Us Part 1, yeah.
Yeah, Tommy.
Then Johnny Silverhand.
Cyberpunk.
This one has Garrus Vakarian as number 3. Siri.
Oh, that's Witcher, right?
The Witcher, yeah. I actually didn't like Siri. I love
Siri
The Witcher.
With a C.
Yeah, Ciri.
Yeah.
I don't like Siri. I like this. Here's the thing. I like the story. I like the character's build, but I don't like the character. Not that the character is bad. It just doesn't hit with me well. Like it doesn't resonate with me as like a reader or
I can see that
consumption. I mean, I fully think you can have a very well done and good character that just people just don't like. They don't have to like, and that's something about Siri I just don't like. And then this one has Sadie Adler. So like, there's only been a few that like go across, and it's hard to tell that. Like, there's no empirical data to show that well liked characters. There are hated ones like Navi.
Which one? Who?
Navi, is it Navi?
Oh, Navi, yeah.
Yeah.
Zelda. Hey, listen.
There's like, and this one here is most hated or most annoying. Who would be your most annoying?
Most annoying side character?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've really run into anybody who is super annoying. No, I can't think of any right now. I would probably have to play the game and be like, okay, I'm done with you.
Well, see, that's why I was thinking, oh, who would be my annoying? And I'm like, this got bound to be one. And I'm like, I think if they were that annoying, I probably blocked them out of my memory.
That also probably.
I probably like, I enjoyed the game. I did not enjoy you. So you were no longer you're no longer taking up space and residence in my mind. But like they did like this one here does Baby Mario from Yoshi's Island.
Oh, sure. Okay. I mean, only if you're bad at the game.
Yeah. This one did Slippy Toad from Star Fox.
Ain't nothing wrong with Slippy.
Slippy was cool.
Probably annoying because of his high-pitched voice.
Probably. Oh, you know what? I can think of one and just threw it into my head. Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2. That was one I've really hated. I do not like Raiden.
Is he really the side character in that game?
Well, yeah, I guess not. I mean,
if you want to go with in that game, he's the protagonist.
Okay, well then I just really hate Raiden.
The character itself, yes. If you want to say a side character to the Metal Gear Solid story, I think that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Okay, I just don't like Raiden.
I think he's fine in 4, and I think he becomes a lot better in Rising, but on his own in 2, he's kind of a little whiny.
Yeah, that's just it's just some of these are like weird because they'd say like the dog from Dog Hunt. What's annoying about the dog from Dog Hunt?
People don't like how he makes fun of you.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. I guess people have that issue. It's a game.
Yeah.
Ashley Graham. Who's Ashley Graham?
Ashley Graham is the president's daughter in Resident Evil 4.
Oh,
is that
the one that
they're obviously not going to like her because Resident Evil 4 for a majority of the game is a
escort mission? Okay, that makes sense. I hate all escort missions.
Yeah. If the person you're escorting can't keep up with you.
Not even that. I don't mind too much about him not keeping up with me. I highly dislike when the escort mission involves them staying alive and they don't hide.
Yeah. Yeah, when their health doesn't balance out.
Yeah, it's like you obviously know the character is not going to live by themselves. So make them hide.
Right.
Because that was one how I hated that in Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah, luckily they've fixed a lot of those in the more modern ones, but still run into some issues here and there.
So there you go. Those are your General Shepard. Who's General Shepard?
General Shepard? No,
not Mass Effect. That's Commander. General Shepard.
That's what I'm saying. General Shepard is that's not Star Fox, is it?
Nope, that's Call of Duty. General Shepard, who caused us to experience perhaps the most pathetic scene of Call of Duty series.
I don't know any Call of Duty other than Ghost.
So there you go. I mean, it seems weird, but I guess maybe we should do a favorite animal side character sometime. And I do a lot of research for that.
We'll have to put that on the list.
Yeah.
Because that'll be a good one. Okay. 15 hours later, I want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the dotEXE podcast. Did you enjoy today's discussion? Let us know. Send us your comments, questions, topics, and corrections to dotEXE@savingcontent.com or leave a comment to Saving Content on Twitter and Facebook. Saving Content is also on YouTube, so subscribe for video previews, reviews, trailers, and original content like the .exe podcast you're listening to right now. Are you looking for more gaming discussions? Then check out Saving Content's Quick Save podcast with Evan and Scott. Also, remember to visit savingcontent.com for the latest news and reviews. Since our last episode, Scott has put out a plethora of reviews. He's got Shattered Remastered Deluxe up, Sackboy: A Big Adventure on the PC, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, WRC Generations, a rally game, McPixel 3, which is McPixel 2. They were just being cheeky and named it 3.
Oh. All right.
Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PC. He reviewed the SteelSeries Apex Pro. Looks like he also did Evil West, 2 Point Campus, Space Academy, and that seems to be about it. We've got some previews and everything coming up. They just got to get recorded.
I gotta.
And I'm sure
I gotta check.
Scott's got some in the can as well.
Yeah, I gotta check out the Evil West review because
I've heard some interesting things about Evil West. I've heard from Dan Reichert how very much of a B game it is. So,
well, I take Dan Reichert's opinion with a block of salt.
Right,
because the man's insane.
Fun, but yes,
his takes on things are just so. Yeah. Okay.
Well, before we go, we only ask for one tiny favor: a simple 5-star review. And you can even do that right in your podcast app. Finally, don't forget to tell your friends about us here at dotEXE. It'll help us grow and we'd really appreciate it. So thank you for listening, and remember, kindness costs us nothing, but it means everything. Good night.
Good night.